On October 26, 1440, in a field outside the city of Nantes, in the Duchy of Brittany, the infamous Baron Gilles de Rais stood on a platform above a vast, silent crowd. Before this crowd of townsfolk, nobles and clergy, the once powerful baron fell to his knees, folded his hands, and begged for God's mercy. Beneath the platform, a mound of timber was ready to be ignited, prepared for the execution of a man who had once been one of the wealthiest and most influential figures in all of France. Above his head, a noose dangled, ready to claim the life of a man whose dark and twisted deeds had horrified the nation. The story of Gilles de Rais is one of the most chilling in medieval history. It's a tale of power, wealth, war, and unspeakable evil. Born into privilege, Gilles de Rais once stood as a respected and decorated knight, a war hero who fought alongside Joan of Arc in France's darkest hours during the 100 Years' War. He helped drive the English out of France, playing a significant role in securing the throne for King Charles VII. But behind this heroic facade lurked a monster, one of history's earliest and most notorious serial killers. His name became synonymous with bloodlust, child murder, and black magic. Born around 1405 into the prestigious Laval family, Gilles de Rais was destined for greatness. His family was among the most powerful in Brittany, with vast estates and a rich lineage. He inherited incredible wealth at an early age after the death of his parents. Gilles' father, Guy de Laval, died tragically during a hunting accident in 1415 when Gilles was only about 10 or 11 years old. His father's death, combined with his mother's mysterious disappearance from records, likely set the young boy on a dangerous and destructive path. His early experiences of trauma, coupled with the absence of a guiding parental figure, may have played a part in shaping his later behavior. After the death of his parents, Gilles and his younger brother René were placed under the care of their maternal grandfather, Jean de Craon. Jean de Craon was known to be a ruthless, greedy, and unscrupulous man, a political operator who sought to expand his family's influence at any cost. Many historians believe that Jean's corrupting influence on Gilles played a role in the latter's eventual descent into madness and depravity. Despite his tumultuous upbringing, Gilles excelled in the military sphere. By the time he reached his late teens, Gilles had already gained a reputation as a skilled and fearless soldier. In 1427, at the age of 22, he was placed in command of several military campaigns. His wealth allowed him to raise and maintain private armies, and his military successes further bolstered his standing at court. One of his most significant achievements came in the Siege of Orléans, where he fought alongside Joan of Arc. In fact, Gilles de Rais was considered one of Joan's staunchest allies, and together they helped turn the tide of the war, pushing the English out of France. As a reward for his service, Gilles was named a Marshal of France, one of the highest military honors in the kingdom. But despite these accolades, a darkness continued to fester within him. Soon, the knight who once fought for the salvation of France would turn his talents to far darker purposes. By the mid-1430s, Gilles had largely retired from military life and began to indulge in increasingly bizarre and sinister activities. His once vast fortune, inherited from both his parents and his grandfather, began to dwindle as he spent lavishly on theatrical productions, extravagant parties, and a lavish court that rivaled even that of the king. But these expenses paled in comparison to his obsession with alchemy and the occult. Gilles de Rais became deeply fascinated with the idea of summoning demons and spirits in order to gain even more wealth and power. He believed that through these dark rituals, he could communicate with forces beyond the natural world and discover the secrets of alchemy, particularly the Philosopher's Stone, which was said to turn base metals into gold. Desperate to restore his fading fortune, Gilles employed a series of alchemists and sorcerers, but his ventures into the occult led him down a far darker path than he could have imagined. Many believe that it was during this time that Gilles began his campaign of terror. By now, his financial resources had all but evaporated, and he had sold off much of his estate to finance his experiments in alchemy. But his downward spiral didn't stop with financial ruin. It was during this period that Gilles de Rais began committing the horrific acts that would seal his reputation as one of the worst serial killers in medieval history. His obsession with the occult and a lust for control and power seemed to drive him to unspeakable atrocities, which would later come to light during his trial. Between 1432 and 1440, it is believed that Gilles de Rais lured hundreds of children, mostly young boys, into his castles under various pretenses. These children were often from poor peasant families, making them easy targets as their disappearances would raise little suspicion among the aristocracy. The young victims were promised jobs, food, or simply invited under the guise of Gilles' supposed generosity. Once inside, the children were subjected to unimaginable torture. Historical accounts from his trial detail the chilling methods used by Gilles and his accomplices. The children were sexually assaulted, tortured, and brutally murdered. The sheer sadism displayed in these acts has left an indelible mark on history, with descriptions of the crimes too graphic for many to stomach. Witnesses during his trial described how Gilles would sometimes kill the children himself, often reveling in their suffering before their deaths. The atrocities were not confined to just the act of murder. Gilles' fascination with the occult fueled his actions. Some sources suggest that he believed the blood of the innocent children could aid in his alchemical and occult rituals. He saw their deaths as a way to gain supernatural power or to redeem his crumbling fortune. His castles, particularly Château de Tiffauges, became the sites of these heinous acts, with the bodies of his victims disposed of through burning, dismemberment, or burial in hidden locations. Gilles de Rais' reign of terror went largely unnoticed for years due to his noble status and influence. However, as rumors of child disappearances spread, and with his financial ruin becoming more public, authorities began to investigate. The turning point came when the Duke of Brittany launched an official inquiry into the allegations against him. In 1440, Gilles de Rais was arrested and brought to trial. The trial revealed the full scope of his horrific deeds. Gilles himself eventually confessed to the crimes, although there has been debate among historians about the level of coercion involved in his confession. Nonetheless, the evidence against him was overwhelming. The testimonies from his servants and accomplices, along with the discovery of remains in his properties, painted a picture of unparalleled cruelty. On October 26, 1440, Gilles de Rais was sentenced to death. He was hanged and burned, a punishment befitting the heinous nature of his crimes. Before his execution, Gilles expressed remorse for his actions, begging for God's forgiveness in front of the crowd that had gathered to witness his end. The story of Gilles de Rais has left an enduring legacy of horror. His descent from war hero and marshal to sadistic murderer shocked not only his contemporaries, but continues to fascinate and horrify people to this day.